Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise and get straight to what matters in the information you share with us. Today, we're actually kicking off a two-part series. We're going to step back in time, way before streaming was even a thing, to look at some really big shifts in the TV industry. We're going to unpack this, pretty surprising reversal, how local TV affiliates, the stations broadcasting network shows in your town, went from getting their signals carried for free to eventually having to pay the networks they represented.
Wild, right. And how did something called content syndication become so important in all that? It's quite a story. Lots of power plays.
It really is. And this whole history, it reveals this constant tension, this push and pull over power, money, and viewers between the big national guys and the local stations. Understanding this isn't just looking back. It's crucial because so many of these dynamics, they're still playing out today, just with different tech. It's basically the story of how TV built its first business model and then how, the chase for profit just completely reshaped it, sometimes dramatically. Okay, let's rewind. Way back. Early days of TV. What did it even look like? How did the money work then? Who had the upper hand?
Well, in the very beginning, broadcast TV, the kind you got over the airwaves, it was pretty simple in some ways. Scheduled shows, only a few channels, and it was all one way. And the big thing, for you, the viewer, it was completely free.
Free TV, hard to imagine now sometimes.
Right. The advertisers paid for everything. The whole cost of making the shows was covered by ads. So naturally, the goal was programs that everyone would watch. Mass appeal. Advertisers paid for reach. Simple as that.
So no subscription fees, but you definitely paid with your time watching commercials. Okay, and then cable started popping up. Community antenna television, right? Late 40s?
Yeah.
How did they fit in?
Yeah, initially cable was just about getting those broadcast signals into places that couldn't get good reception. Think small towns, hilly areas. It wasn't creating new stuff, just extending the reach of the existing channels. And early on, there were these rules called must-carry provisions. Yeah, it meant cable companies had to carry the local broadcast stations. So local stations got bigger audiences, which was good for them, but they got zero direct payment from the cable companies for their actual content.
Wow. So cable companies basically got all this programming, local news network shows for free for years.
That's exactly right. A free ride, essentially. They built their early business on the back of broadcast content they didn't pay for.
That seems like a huge imbalance. It couldn't last, surely. When did that start to change? What was the turning point that let local stations finally ask for payment?
The big shift, the real turning point, was the 1992 Cable Act. The full name is the Cable Television Consumer Protection and Competition Act. Congress basically stepped in to try and rebalance things because stations were effectively subsidizing cable operators, giving away valuable stuff for nothing. And this new law, it gave stations a choice. They could stick with must carry, guarantee carriage, but no pay. Or they could choose to negotiate for retransmission consent. Basically, give the cable company permission to carry their signal, but this time, potentially for a fee.
Okay, so the door opened for local stations to finally get paid. But was it like flipping a switch? Did the money start rolling in right away?
No, not exactly. It wasn't an immediate cash grab. The act also limited how much cable companies could raise their rates. So a lot of the first deals weren't for cash. They were in-kind agreements.
In-kind? Like what?
Like maybe the cable company would promise to buy a certain amount of advertising on the local station. Or, and this was really important, the cable company would agree to carry new cable channels that the broadcaster wanted to launch.
Oh, interesting. So use the broadcast signal as a bargaining chip for something else.
Precisely. Networks and big station groups were smart about this. Fox used it to get FX carried. Scripps launched HGTV this way. They expanded their empires without direct cash changing hands initially.
Clever strategy, building for the future. But okay, those in-kind deals couldn't satisfy everyone forever. What happened in the mid-2000s that turned these into actual money negotiations? When did stations start demanding cold, hard cash?
Right. Around the mid-2000s, stations, networks started looking really hard at the fees cable companies were already paying for cable channels. Like ESPN or CNN.
They saw what others were getting.
Exactly. Yeah. And they saw big money. Like premium sports channels getting maybe $4 per subscriber per month in big markets. Broadcasters looked at that and thought, wait a second. Our local news, our network primetime shows, they get huge ratings too. Why aren't we getting paid like that? They realized the potential revenue they were just leaving on the table.
Okay, so the realization dawned. Was there a specific moment or company that broke the dam?
There absolutely was. Yeah. A really pivotal moment came in 2005. a station group called Nexstar Television decided to play hardball. They demanded much higher retransmission consent rates from Cox Cable. Cox said no. And then Nexstar did something pretty drastic. They pulled their stations off Cox systems for 10 months.
10 months. Wow, that's a long time to go dark. A huge gamble.
Huge gamble. But it worked. Nexstar eventually won. They became the very first local station group to get direct cash payments for retransmission consent.
That Nexstar story sounds like a real game changer. What happened right after that? Did everyone else jump in?
Oh, immediately. It was like the floodgates opened. Nexstar's success basically gave everyone else the courage, or maybe the playbook. The broadcast networks themselves and the other big station groups, they saw Nexstar did it, and they quickly started demanding significant cash fees too, especially for their owned and operated stations.
The ones the networks own directly, right? Not the independent affiliates.
Exactly. And the money involved just exploded. Retransmission fees paid by cable and satellite to local stations went from maybe $500 million in 2008 to toe over $1 billion by 2010. And projections just kept climbing, hitting like $3.6 billion expected by 2017.
Incredible numbers. So for us watching at home, our cable bills were quietly going up, partly because of these new fees flowing back to local broadcasters.
That's a big part of it, yes. That value was finally being monetized by the broadcasters.
Okay, so it seems like local stations and networks were finally getting paid, gaining power. But then the story takes another twist, maybe the most surprising one. How did we get from affiliates demanding payment from cable to affiliates actually having to pay the networks? That feels like a complete 180.
It was a complete 180, and this is where reverse compensation comes in. It fundamentally flipped the script on the whole affiliate-network relationship. As soon as affiliates started successfully collecting that retransmission money from cable companies, well, the networks noticed.
Yeah, wanted a cut.
They absolutely wanted a cut. They saw this new revenue stream that the affiliates had, revenue based largely on carrying the network's popular programming, and the networks basically said, okay, now you need to share that with us. They started demanding that affiliates pay them a portion of the retransmission fees the affiliates were collecting.
Let me make sure I understand this. Networks provide the shows, affiliates use those shows to get paid by cable companies, and then the networks demand a slice of that money back from the affiliates.
You got it. It changed everything. The relationship went from mostly cooperative network provides content, affiliate provides local distribution and news, to often pretty contentious, even coercive.
Coercive? How so?
Well, Fox, for example, took a really tough stance. They told their affiliates, you will pay us fees, starting around 15 to 25 cents per subscriber per month, and plan to increase it. The network argument was, look, our national shows, our sports, that's the main reason people watch your station and why cable pays you, so we deserve a share.
But how did the affiliates feel about that? I imagine they weren't thrilled.
Not at all. They felt blindsided. People like Donna Shive, who was president of Bello Group at the time, she argued that the retransmission money was based on their local signal, their investment, their work in the community, not just the network feed. She called it the network trying to make affiliates share in the cost of programming, but you could tell she felt it was fundamentally unfair. It became a fight over who really created the value.
So what did this mean for the local stations, especially smaller ones? Did it hurt their bottom line, their independence?
Oh, definitely. It put a real squeeze on them. Remember, a big station in a major city might get $1 per subscriber from cable, maybe more. But the average affiliate, maybe only 26 cents.
Yeah.
So when a network demanded 15, 20, 25 cents of that,
Yeah.
it was a huge chunk.
Yeah, not much left over.
Exactly. It made it harder for them to invest in local news or other local programming. Affiliates really felt the partnership model was breaking down. You heard things like, it's not like it used to be. It's not a partnership anymore.
And for us, the viewers, that potentially means less investment in the local aspect of TV news and programming as more money flows back to the national networks.
That's a potential consequence, yes. The financial pressure shifted significantly.
Okay, so in this really complex, kind of messy financial situation with affiliates now paying networks, how did syndication fit in? You mentioned it earlier. Did it become like more important, a way out maybe?
Absolutely more important. Syndication became a crucial counter strategy for local stations. As the network relationship got more expensive and, frankly, more difficult because of reverse compensation, stations desperately needed other ways to fill their schedules and make money. Syndication offered that.
So what exactly is syndication in this context?
It's basically content, like TV shows, that's sold or licensed station by station or to station groups outside the main network affiliation deal. Think about shows produced by studios, like Warner Bros. Or Sony. They make shows, And then they sell the rights to air those shows directly to local stations across the country. It bypasses the network structure for that specific program.
Like game shows or talk shows you see during the day.
Exactly. Shows like Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, Judge Judy, daytime talk shows, those are often syndicated. For a local station, buying a popular syndicated show was smart. They paid the syndicator for the rights, sure, but then they got to sell all the advertising time within that show and keep most, if not all, of that revenue.
So it gave them back some control over their ad revenue, unlike network shows where the ad time is split.
Precisely. It offered more financial independence. It also gave them control over their schedule outside of network prime time. It provided flexibility and a buffer against those increasing network demands. It was, and still is, really vital for local station economics.
So while networks were tightening their grip with reverse compensation, syndication offered a path to maintain some autonomy and profitability.
Fascinating. It feels like these kinds of fights over money, control, who gets the audience, have probably happened before. Are there historical parallels?
Oh, absolutely. History definitely echoes here. If you look back even further to radio in the 1930s.
Radio. Yep. You saw very similar battles between the big radio networks like NBC and CBS and their local affiliate stations. The networks wanted affiliates to clear their schedules for the big, nationally sponsored shows to maximize the audience for advertisers. But the local affiliates, they made their money from local ads run during local programs. So there was this constant tension.
Same core issues, different technology.
Exactly the same issue. What really draws the listeners or viewers, the big national star or the local connection? How much is that network affiliation actually worth? How much power does the local owner have to push back? And just like later in TV, the radio networks used their owned and operated stations back then to set the terms, often forcing other affiliates to follow along. The playbook is remarkably consistent.
It really puts things in perspective. So we've traced this incredible arc from must carry, where stations got nothing, through those early in-kind retransmission deals, then the big shift to getting actual cash from cable in the mid-2000s, only to have the tables turned by reverse compensation where affiliates started paying the networks. And alongside all that, the growing importance of syndication as a way for stations to survive and thrive. For you, the viewer, it really underscores how the path content takes to your screen and who makes money from it has been this constantly shifting battlefield. The media world we have today is absolutely built on these decades of negotiation, conflict, and innovation.
It really is. And it leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? When you consider this long history, these cycles of power shifting between creators, networks, and local distributors, how do these lessons from the broadcast era keep shaping things now, especially in our super fragmented digital media world? What can we expect to see in the next chapter of this ongoing story? That's something we'll dig into next time.